Okay, once you've done a few rows of the stockinette and you're comfortable with both the knit and the purl stitches, then we're going to try something called a rib. This light pink portion here, this is the rib. See how it kind of pulls in at the edges, but it's really stretchy? This is a good stitch to know if you want to make something like a hat or a sweater or a pair of mittens. This is usually used at the cuffs of those items because it helps pull the fabric in and keep it on your body, but it's still stretchy enough for you to get over your head or around your hand. So let's start here. Okay, we're gonna do what's called a 3x3 rib. So we're gonna knit 3 stitches and purl 3 stitches, knit 3 stitches, purl 3 stitches, and just alternate between the two. So just start out and knit 3 stitches. 1, and I'm starting, remember the V's are the knit side, I'm gonna start on the knit side. 1, 2, 3. Now I'm going to purl 3 stitches. But when we purl, see how, okay, when we purl, the yarn has to be in front. See how the yarn is coming out the back of my knitting right now? We have to move it to the front. So move your yarn to the front and just bring it between the 2 needles. Okay, move it to the front between the 2 needles. Now purl 3 stitches. Okay, now we're going to knit 3 stitches again, but our yarn is coming out the front. When we knit, our yarn has to start in back. So move the yarn to the back between the 2 needles and knit. 1, 2, 3. Okay, now purl 3. Move the yarn to the front and purl. 1, 2, 3. Now knit 3. Move the yarn to the back. 1, 2, 3. And if you started out with 15 stitches like I did, then you should be to the end of your row. Now you can kind of see the difference between the 2 stitches. So remember our knit stitches, they're kind of smooth and they just go straight down into the V at the bottom. So you can see we have 3 knit stitches here. Over here, these stitches, they come down and there's a little purl hanging out at the bottom of them. So we have 3 purl stitches. Here's our 3 knit stitches again, they go straight down into the V. And here's our 3 purl stitches. They go down and there's a purl at the bottom. So it helps if you can see the difference between the stitches, but it can take a little while to recognize them. So don't worry if you can't really tell at first. It'll get easier the more you knit. So now we're going to flip it around. And I have 3 purl stitches here. I can tell because there's the little purl hanging down at the bottom. These ones, there's no purl. They go straight down into the next stitch. So, because these are purl stitches, I'm going to purl them. 1, 2, 3. Now I'm at my knit stitches, so I'm going to knit them. 1, 2, 3. Now I'm at my purls again. 1, 2, 3, And don't forget to move the yarn from the front to the back. If I forget, okay, I just did 3 purl stitches and my yarn is coming out the front. If I forget to move my yarn to the back and I just keep knitting, or if I just knit the next stitch without moving the yarn to the back, this is what happens. Okay, I'm gonna knit. Can you see that yarn there crossing over the needle? This is the stitch I'm making, and this is the last stitch I made. So this yarn here, it's called a yarn over because the yarn is going over your needle. It's not really a stitch. See, it makes a hole in your knitting. See that hole right there? And when you get back, when you start knitting across the other side again, you'll see this and you'll knit it. So actually it looks like we have one more stitch on our needles than we started out with. So if you start having, if you start noticing that your knitting is getting wider and wider as you go up, or you notice that you have more stitches than you started out with, it's probably, or if you see that you have holes, it's probably because you're forgetting to move your yarn from the front to the back or the back to the front. The same thing will happen if you forget to move it, if you forget to move your yarn to the front when you go to purl. So remember to move your yarn to the back before you knit, and move your yarn to the front before you purl. Okay. And you can kind of start to see that there's something going on. It'll look messy at first, just like everything else. But after a little while, you'll end up with a rib. So keep on practicing. Don't worry if you make mistakes. It happens to everybody. But when you get used to moving the yarn from the front to the back and the back to the front, you can remember to do that, then it's time to move on to the next stitch. So keep on practicing.